Hey guys, it's Eddie and today I am back with another movie review for you all. Now today's movie that we'll be reviewing is none other than the much talked about, much revered Logan, starring Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart and Daphne Keane. Um, Now, disclaimer before we begin this review and start analysing the film, I must admit that I am not an avid X-Men fan. Please don't bite my head off. I just I'm just more of an Avengers person, and I've never really just had a chance to get into the X-Men films. I've seen a couple, but I don't know, it's just never really like gripped me totally. But I heard that everyone was going crazy about Logan. And me and my friends were like, should we go and see it? Should we give it a try? So yes, we went to the cinema and we saw it, and I was really, really impressed. Now, the film begins with a very weary, a very tired looking Logan, otherwise known as Wolverine, played by the fantastic Hugh Jackman, reprising his role. And he is in a situation where he is looking after the very ill Professor X, played by Patrick Stewart, who is also reprising his much loved role. And they have this plan, or at least Logan has this plan, where he intends to take them both away and sort of hide from the outside world, and they'll be sort of safe and out of reach. But this plan is foiled when Logan, comes across a young mutant called Laura, who has abilities that are of striking resemblance to his own. Now, I won't go any further, I won't give anything away. All I will say that is she is currently on the run from people who really want to harness her abilities and who are sort of out to get her. So Logan, whether he wishes to or not, has to protect her, and he's sort of coaxed into doing this by Professor X. So, you know, it's kind of a haphazard, sort of forced situation on this very tired looking Logan, but it certainly takes him through a journey, I will say that. Now, there were moments, as I said, I'm not an X-Men fan, there were moments that you would have needed the background of the X-Men franchise, the sort of fan knowledge and context to understand some occurrences within the film, particularly the moments where Professor X and Logan were discussing their past and the things that have gone on, because this is in the sort of near future. So people who know of the comics, people that know of the storyline running through those, they would have got that totally. I sort of had to sort of guess, catch up throughout the film, but it wasn't like completely disabling to being able to watch the film. Like, you could still watch it and enjoy it. There were just a few moments where you perhaps needed a little bit of extra context, but it was fine, because I think aside from that, as a standalone film, this is completely enjoyable by itself. I'm not saying that you should just ignore the rest of the X-Men films, because I will probably now definitely go back and watch them. But I'm saying that as a singular film, you can really watch this and enjoy this by itself, without too much, guessing of what has happened in the past between these characters. Now, what I loved about this film was that it seemed like it was a step up from all of the others. Now, we know that with hero movies and superhero films, there tends to be a lot of censoring with, I don't know, like swearing and violence. They're kind of limited. You don't get, it's not like a Quentin Tarantino film. It is kind of limited. What you see is kind of, it's reduced a little. It's played down. And what I liked about this film is that this was completely full of bloody gore and violence. It was full of swearing. It was just felt like an adult superhero movie, kind of like Deadpool, but on a more serious note. And that's what I really liked about this film. I wasn't expecting it from it, and I was kind of delighted. It made me enjoy this film a little bit more. And I think that the actual gore and the swearing and these really, really heavy fight scenes made you empathise with Logan a lot more, because he seems exhausted throughout this film, and these scenes allow you to understand why. He's had a pretty tumultuous life, and it hasn't stopped, because he's now taken on another phase that is really violent and just full of surprises. So you can really understand his weariness throughout this film, because they are very, very heavy, violent scenes. Yes, I enjoyed that change, but there were really poignant moments of dialogue as well. Some of my favourite scenes were just the scenes where Professor X and Logan were discussing the past, or what they were going to do with Laura, how they were going to help her, and these sort of, really subtle pieces of dialogue between the two, who obviously know their roles by now incredibly well, and just fit completely and seamlessly into them, were really, really nice to watch. And you didn't feel like you were watching Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman on screen having a conversation. You felt like you were watching Logan and Charles Xavier having a nice conversation. And that's the thing, it ranged between being frustrated with each other to having some really nice moments. And the fact that these two were in such a dire situation, the really sort of nice and sweeter, less panicked and tumultuous moments were really nice to enjoy. And I think that the two actors were just so masterful in their roles, especially having played them for a long time, that you could really, really believe them, despite them being in a superhero movie. It was really nice, and some of those scenes were my favourite, amongst the incredibly fast-paced action scenes. I thought that little Laura, played by Daphne Keane, was fantastic. On screen, she worked so perfectly with Jackman, and even when she wasn't saying her word, her facial expressions were enough. I thought she was a fantastic little actress, and I loved the initial, that initial typical coldness between Logan and Laura, and the fact that he really didn't know what he was going to do with her, how he was going to help her. He didn't want to. But then throughout the film, there grew this, fantastic closeness between them. And I thought that they really provided some of the funniest moments when they were sort of yelling at each other and really frustrated with each other. And I just thought it provided, some really light relief in this quite sort of heavy going and occasionally bleak film, which really didn't leave anything to the imagination, which I loved. It was, people got shot, people got their heads ripped open, people got Wolverine's claws, stuck through their neck, and there was a lot of blood, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was just such a nice change to the sort of PC superhero movies that we're very, very used to at the moment. I think we needed this change. Now, it had such a sad and powerful ending that was provided by this lovely chemistry between Daphne and Hugh Jackman. I won't spoil anything, but, it did make me almost shed a few tears and break that cold heart of glass that I have. Now, some of the action scenes, I say some, all of them basically, were fantastic. And the great thing is that they didn't feel unnecessary, they didn't feel overdone. There was a lot of violence, but it didn't feel like it was too much, because they were sort of punctuated by these brilliant, subtle dialogue scenes that sort of gave you a break. And I thought it was just like really well paced, because you would sort of have a dialogue scene and it would keep running, and then it would explode into an action scene, and there wouldn't be another action scene for a couple of, a good while. And I thought that it was just enough. It was just enough of the right balance to really make you enjoy this film. Now, overall, I don't really have much else to say about this film, other than that the performances were really nuanced and interesting for a superhero film. I thought that Hugh Jackman was absolutely fantastic. I believe this is his last film as Wolverine, which is sad, but I think it was the perfect way to end the, sign off. If this was indeed his last film as the character, I think it was the perfect way to end, because I think it was an absolutely brilliant film. I completely understand the hype about it. The action sequences were fast, furious, and completely enthralling. So if I had to give this movie a rating, I'd probably give it 5 out of 5, because as a film on its own, and as a really nice dynamic change to the superhero franchise, I could not fault it. So that is my take on Logan. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review, and you can always suggest movies for me to review by messaging me on my Tumblr or leaving a comment below. But that is it for now. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!